The CEO of one of the biggest companies in the city was having a moment of peace. Just him, the warm water of the shower, and the silence of his luxury penthouse. Life was busy and stressful, with endless meetings, phone calls, and decisions that affected thousands of people. But right now, none of that mattered. He was finally enjoying a rare break, lost in his own world. Little did he know, this quiet moment was about to take a wild turn. On the other side of town, a young woman was rushing through her day. She wasn't from a rich family. Far from it. Life had been tough, filled with struggles and small victories just to keep going. She worked hard, kept her head down, and dreamed of a better future, even when it seemed out of reach. Fate, however, had something unexpected in store for her, something that would change everything. And it all began with a simple mistake. In a funny twist of events, the poor girl, lost in her own thoughts and distracted by the chaos of her day, ended up in the wrong place at the wrong time. Walking through the CEO's penthouse by accident, she suddenly found herself standing right in front of the shower and saw everything she wasn't supposed to. The shock froze her for a moment, her eyes wide, heart pounding, unsure whether to run or stay. Meanwhile, the CEO, completely caught off guard, scrambled to cover up, embarrassed beyond belief. What started as a simple accident quickly turned into a moment neither of them could forget. The power imbalance between them was huge. A wealthy, confident CEO used to control and respect, and a poor girl whose life was worlds apart. Yet, in that awkward, hilarious moment, a spark ignited. The universe had collided two very different lives in a way neither expected. You might think this story would go one way, with anger, embarrassment, or awkward silence. But what if that moment was the beginning of something funny, unexpected, and even heartwarming? What if this accidental meeting led to a connection neither of them planned? As the CEO tried to regain his composure, and the girl struggled to find her voice, the scene was set for a roller coaster of emotions. Laughter, confusion, and maybe, just maybe, the first steps towards something more. But before either of them could make sense of it, the door slammed, leaving the question hanging in the air. What happens next? Will the CEO fire the girl for invading his privacy? Or will he be intrigued enough to give her a chance? And how will this strange encounter affect their lives moving forward? The answers are just around the corner, and trust me, you don't want to miss what happens next. So, sit tight, because this is just the beginning of a story filled with surprises, funny moments, and a love that starts in the most unusual way. Stay tuned for the next part. It's going to be a wild ride. After that embarrassing moment, both the CEO and the girl found themselves stuck in an awkward silence that neither wanted to break. The CEO, still dripping wet and hastily grabbing a towel, was furious at the situation and honestly at himself for being caught off guard. The girl, feeling a mix of shame and curiosity, wasn't sure if she should apologize, run away, or just stand there frozen. Neither of them knew that this bizarre encounter was just the start of a complicated story. Let's take a step back and understand how their worlds were so different and why this accidental meeting mattered so much. The CEO, Armin, wasn't just any businessman. He was a self-made man, known for his sharp mind and no-nonsense attitude. From a small startup to a giant company worth millions, Armin had fought hard to get where he was. His life was packed with luxury and power, but also loneliness and pressure. Deep down, behind the expensive suits and high-rise office, he longed for something genuine, a connection beyond business deals and boardrooms. On the other hand, the girl Zara had grown up with far fewer advantages. She worked 2 jobs just to keep her family afloat, dreaming of a life that felt out of reach. Zara was smart, kind, and full of hope, but the daily grind left her exhausted and struggling. She didn't expect anything exciting to happen to her, especially not something that would bring her face to face with someone like Armin. But fate doesn't care about status or plans. The conflict between their worlds was clear. Armin's life was organized, controlled, and private, while Zara's was unpredictable, chaotic, and open. When she accidentally walked into his penthouse, it wasn't just a physical crossing of space. It was a crossing of 2 very different lives, 2 different sets of rules. What made things even more complicated was the tension inside Arman's company. Unbeknownst to Zara, the CEO was dealing with a major crisis at work. A rival company was trying to take over his biggest project, and Arman was under more pressure than ever. His reputation was on the line, and any sign of weakness could ruin everything he'd built. The last thing he needed was a scandal or distraction, especially one involving a stranger who had seen him in a vulnerable moment. Meanwhile, Zara had her own battles. With bills piling up and her family depending on her, she couldn't afford to be careless. She wanted to keep her head down, but meeting Armin, even in such an awkward way, shook something inside her. She found herself wondering about the life she'd never known, and whether there could be more for her than just surviving day to day. As days passed, neither of them could shake the memory of that accidental encounter. Armin kept thinking about the girl who had burst into his life so unexpectedly. Zara, despite herself, felt curious about the CEO, whose world seemed so far from hers, but their paths were about to cross again. And this time, it wouldn't be by accident. The tension was building. Would Armin see Zara as a threat to his carefully guarded life? Or could he see beyond the surface to the person she really was? And for Zara, would she be able to step into a world that seemed so different? Or would the weight of her struggles pull her back? The story was heading towards a moment where everything could change, where the CEO's powerful life and the poor girl's tough reality would collide in ways neither expected. Would this unusual meeting become the start of a funny, awkward, and maybe even beautiful love? Or would their differences push them apart? Days turned into weeks, and the unexpected connection between Armin and Zara kept growing stronger, even though neither of them fully understood it yet. What started as an awkward accident in the shower had now turned into stolen moments, chance meetings in the office lobby, brief conversations over coffee, and an unspoken curiosity that neither could ignore. But with every step closer, the stakes only got higher. Armin's world was a storm. The rival company wasn't backing down. Instead, they were stepping up their game, trying to sabotage his latest project. His employees looked to him for leadership, and investors were watching his every move. He had to stay strong, keep his reputation spotless, and find a way to win the battle before it was too late. At the same time, there was Zara, quiet, honest Zara, who was suddenly part of this complicated equation. Armin worried that his feelings for her might become a weakness, something his competitors could exploit. Zara, too, felt torn. She had never imagined herself involved in such a high-stakes business drama. The gap between their lives felt enormous, but somehow, Armin's genuine moments, the way he laughed despite stress, how he cared deeply for his team, made her want to believe in something more. Still, she worried about her place in his world. Could a poor girl really fit into a life surrounded by luxury and power? Or was she just another problem waiting to happen? Then came the moment that changed everything. One evening, just as Armin was about to close a critical deal that could save his company, Zara showed up unexpectedly. She had found out about the rival company's plan to ruin Armin and had gathered some proof. A few emails and messages she stumbled upon while working her side job in a cafe near Armin's office. Without hesitation, she rushed to warn him. At first, Armin was shocked. He hadn't expected Zara to take such a bold step, but as he read through the evidence, he realized how much she truly cared, not just about him, but about the future they could share. That night, they worked side by side, crafting a plan to expose the rivals and protect everything Armin had built. The next day, with Zara's help, Armin presented the proof to his board and the media. The rival company's scheme was exposed, and the threat was over. Armin's reputation was safe, and his company stood stronger than ever. But the real victory was something deeper. Armin and Zara, from two very different worlds, had found trust and courage in each other. Their funny and unexpected beginning had blossomed into something real, something that neither of them had expected, but both needed. In the end, it wasn't about wealth or status. It was about honesty, bravery, and the willingness to believe in someone beyond first impressions. Armin learned that true strength comes from opening your heart, and Zara realized that no matter where you start, you can change your story. So, what started with an accidental walk-in during a shower became a story about love, trust, and overcoming obstacles together. Sometimes, the most unexpected moments lead to the greatest changes. And that's exactly what happened here. Thanks you for joining this journey. If you enjoyed this story about the CEO, the poor girl, and their funny, surprising love, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more amazing stories coming your way.